He came to our school when I was in 4th grade, and almost immediately he was surrounded by boys. He was young and virile and handsome. All of our mothers were a little bit in love with him. Most of us came from Polish or German families whose traditions allowed for no physical affection between men and boys, fathers and sons, but he was a priest, and that made all the difference. He came to our houses and ate with us and blessed us when he left. I remember my dad kneeling beside me as he stood over us and swept his hand balletically through the air. "You're the only one who ever asks for my blessing," he told me. I felt special, as if Christ really approved of me. He hugged and kissed his boys in public. We were malnourished, and he was the milkman. We crowded around him as we might the Pope or Elvis, pressing to touch him, praying he would touch us back. He had his favorites. His closest apostles were athletic and a little rough. Then came the in-betweens, the disciples whom, for whatever reason, he would not allow into his inner circle unless there was a temporary opening at the table. I was in the third tier, a group of tag-alongs who were too shy or unathletic or perhaps just too vulnerable for his embrace. One night, he took a carload of us to a scary movie in another town, and driving back through the dark mountains, he told us of a panther living in the hollows that preyed on helpless children. Just then the car stalled, and he pulled to the side of the road and got out to check the engine, and we all huddled in the back seat and giggled and knew he was pulling our legs, but maybe he wasn't. Afterwards, he flashed a smile. "O ye of little faith." He started a summer camp, offering 2 weeks of peeing in outhouses and swimming in water so cold it hurt, and campfires with ghost stories and songs with the word damn in them. We all sang, boys who never sang, who found singing sissified and shameful, would sing for him. More than anything, I wanted to go to his camp, but my parents couldn't afford it. It cost $35 a week, which was not in our budget. When he invited me to come for free, I could only hope that Mom and Dad, who were too proud for charity, would allow it into their home just this once. On the morning that I was to catch the bus for the great outdoors, my mother pressed into my hand a check for $35. "Give it to him," she said. "Don't let him say no." I was terrified. He had offered to change the water to wine at absolutely no charge to the bridegroom, and I had to refuse. It took me 2 days to approach him, and when I did and handed him the check, he tried to give it back. My mother said, "You have to take it." I insisted. I was ashamed to come near him after that. His generosity had cost my parents money, exposing our secret. We were poor. Some days later, I stood at the swimming pool, shivering after a brief dip into the killing cold. I heard a voice inviting me near. He was sitting on the diving board in his swimsuit, soaking wet, and when I went to him, he lifted me onto his lap and wrapped his arms around me. The soft hairs of his chest pressed against my bare back. The water from his forehead baptized my cheeks. I felt special, as if he loved me. Years later, I saw him again, bald, fey, surrounded by boys. He didn't remember me.